letting go of the people we love is one of the hardest things we're ever asked to do. Not because we don't want what's best for them, but it's because we care so very deeply. Hi, I'm Jacqueline, and welcome to Faith and Resilience. This is where we learn how to navigate life's transitions with faith, emotional strength, and purpose. Welcome to Faith and Resilience, your weekly dose of practical tips, encouragement, and faith-filled inspiration. You know, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of letting go because it sounds really simple, but in reality, it is anything but simple, especially when it comes to the people we love. And here's what I've realized. Letting go isn't just about releasing someone. It's about what's happening inside of you. Letting go is hard for a few reasons. First of all, it challenges our sense of control. And if you're anything like me, that is a hot button for you. We've been used to guiding, to protecting, to being involved, and suddenly we're asked to step back. Second, it touches our identity. If you've been needed in certain ways for years and years, for example, with your children, letting go can feel like you're losing a part of who you are. And then third, it's rooted in love. So you don't struggle to let go of what doesn't matter. If you don't care about it, you can let it go, but you struggle to let go of what matters the most to you. And for me, you know, I've had a lot of change at the same time recently. But honestly, the toughest one is the one I'm going through right now. And all of this has become very real in this season with my oldest son. He's getting married. And I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. This is what my husband and I raised him to do, to get to fall in love, to be a godly man, to get married to a godly woman. And he has found a very godly woman. But I've found myself having to navigate what it looks like to let go of him. Not letting go of the relationship, but letting go of my role. Letting go of being the primary voice in his life. Letting go of being the first one he turns to, his first phone call. Letting go of being needed in the same ways I've been needed for so many years. And if I'm honest, there are moments where it feels really emotional. And it can happen at any time. Those emotions can happen. They just rise up in me. But because it's good and it's right and it's what we want as parents, there's this internal struggle because it requires something so difficult from you. It requires surrender. And this is where my faith has had to go so much deeper. Because letting go is not just emotional. It is spiritual. Proverbs 3, 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your paths straight." Letting go often doesn't make sense in our understanding, but it's an invitation to trust. Psalm 127 reminds us that children are a heritage from the Lord. They were never ours to hold on to forever. They have always been God's. They were entrusted to us for a season, and part of loving them well is releasing them into what God has for them. It's a beautiful thing. And Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." Peace doesn't come from holding everything together, from being in control. It comes from trusting God with what we cannot control. And one of the scriptures that has grounded me in this season is Philippians 1:6. And it says this. It says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it out to completion." And I've had to remind myself many times that God is working in my son's life. And he does not need my help. He does not need me to control it. He is already there in his life. So here's the shift. Letting go is not losing your place. It's not losing your value. It's not even losing connection. Letting go is releasing control while staying connected. It's choosing to trust over choosing to control. So let me ask you something. Where in your life are you holding on too tightly? Is it a relationship? Maybe it's a child. Maybe you're just like me and your son or daughter is getting married. Maybe they're moving away because they've got a job somewhere out of town. Is it an outcome? Is that what you're holding on to tightly? Is it a role that is changing? And if you're honest, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid will happen if you let go? Because often we hold on tightly out of fear. It's because we're afraid. We're afraid of losing that connection. We're afraid of becoming less important. We're afraid of what's next, even in our own lives. What does my life look like when all my children are out of the house? But what if I told you that letting go isn't the end of something? What if it's the beginning of something even deeper? So I want to give you some practical, simple ways to begin letting go well. First, we have to acknowledge what we're feeling. We can't push it down. We can't ignore it. We must name it. For example, you might find yourself feeling emotional when your son or daughter doesn't call as often. This probably happens more with sons than daughters if you're a mom and you're really close to your daughter. But still, it's a reality. When that doesn't happen, when you're used to that daily interaction or whatever rhythm you've gotten used to, it's hard. Or maybe it's when you realize you're not the first person your son or daughter goes to anymore. You're not their first phone call. You might feel a little left out because of that. You also might feel a little left out during wedding decisions. Particularly, I will say this, if you're the mother of the groom, you may feel left out because sometimes as a mother of the groom, I don't know where I fit in. And I will pause and say that my soon-to-be daughter-in-law has been wonderful in including me in pretty much everything. And it's so sweet and so kind. And I know not everybody has that gift, but she has been so very sweet to help this new dynamic to flourish. So instead of telling yourself, though, when you have these feelings, I shouldn't feel this way, this is wrong, I can't do this, this is not good, and beating yourself up about it, maybe you can say to yourself, this is really hard. And it's really hard because I love my son or my daughter so very deeply. That kind of honesty with yourself creates space for healing to take place in your heart because you are grieving in this season. You're grieving the change of what was. Okay, secondly, you've got to shift from control to trust. And please know that I'm preaching to the choir right now, particularly on this one. You've got to shift control. I've got to shift control to trust. You don't have to manage everything anymore. I don't have to manage everything anymore. So what does that look like? That means that you have to resist the urge to give your opinion on every decision. Ooh, the Lord is teaching me to keep my mouth closed. That is hard. God is working overtime in me right now. It means letting them figure things out without stepping in to fix or to guide. Now, if you're asked, you can give your input, But there's this fine line between trying to step in to fix or to guide. There's a fine line between that and really stepping in and taking over. Trusting that the values you've instilled over the years are now a part of who your son or daughter is. Like what you have taught them along the way is a part of who they are. And we have to trust that we did our jobs, that God is still doing his job in their life, and release that control. And when we feel the urge to step in or to control, we have to pause and remind ourselves, God is at work in our child's life. God is at work in my son's life. God is at work in my daughter's life, even when I'm not involved. In fact, I can hinder God's work in my child's life if I'm not careful. Third, we are to stay connected, but it looks different. Letting go doesn't mean pulling away. It means adjusting to how you show up. So let me try to give you some examples of this. This might look like reaching out with encouragement instead of direction. I just called to say I love you and I want you to know that I'm praying for you today. I just want to encourage you to let you know I see you and I see what you're doing and how you're living your life and how you're being a good husband or a good wife or a good fiance. And I'm so very proud of you. There's no direction there. That is nothing but encouragement. And I can promise you, our kids probably need that more than we know. It might look like asking questions instead of giving advice. So instead of just saying what we think, we ask questions to help them think for themselves. It could be creating space for the new relationship to grow. And I'm speaking specifically about sons and daughters who are getting married, marriage relationships here, but that can be anything. Maybe your son is moving away or your daughter is moving away to a new job or going off to college or what have you. And we have to create space for them so that they can grow and flourish and be their own person. We don't need to compete with that growth or stand in the way of it. Maybe if you are navigating a wedding season, maybe it's building a relationship with your soon-to-be daughter-in-law or your soon-to-be son-in-law. Not building that relationship out of obligation, but because you love this person. That can be a beautiful thing. I have seen that in my current season of not calling my son, but calling her to encourage her, sending her a text of encouragement or asking her to go to coffee or whatever that is. But building that relationship, because relationships take time. We have had an entire, I've had, 25, 26 years of building a relationship with my son. But I've only had a couple of years to build it with my soon-to-be daughter-in-law. And so I have to remind myself that takes time. Number 4, release expectations that you didn't realize you had. And I could do and I probably will, do an entire series or at least dedicate an entire video to unmet expectations, because that is where we really get into trouble sometimes. Sometimes the hardest thing to let go of isn't the person, it's your expectations. Expectations, for example, about how often you're going to talk, how often you're going to see this person. What are the holidays going to look like? How involved are you going to be? And when those expectations aren't met, it creates disappointment. And that's where the rub is. So part of letting go as well is gently releasing our expectations and holding this season with open hands. Lastly, we've got to lean into what God is doing. This season isn't just about your son or your daughter or whomever you're letting go of or whatever you're letting go of. It could be a job. It could be, there's a myriad of things it could be. It's about you too. And that might look like rediscovering parts of yourself that you haven't had time for Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's investing in some friendships. Maybe it's investing into in your spouse, because maybe you've not done that because you've been so busy parenting that relationship has taken a back seat. It's about leaning into your purpose in a new way, or simply asking God, what are you growing in me right now? That's a wonderful question. What are you growing in me? Show me who I am now. And honestly, my Thrive framework is so helpful in this. This is where, like for the example here, we're learning to reset our emotions as we relinquish control and offer surrender and release our expectations and do all the things that we've been talking about in this video. We reset our emotions so they don't control us, but we control them. This is about embracing change instead of resisting it. Because when we resist change, we create tension. And when we lean into faith, we create space. And we create peace, which is a good thing. It's a really good thing. So if you're in a season where you're learning to let go, because it is a process, I am still learning. As I said earlier, I am preaching to the choir. I am preaching to my own soul here. I want you, I want me to hear this very clearly. We are not losing our place. We are not becoming less important. We are stepping into a new expression of love, of influence, and of purpose. And honestly, when I think about it that way, I do get a little emotional because it opens up a myriad of opportunities. And it is going to feel so uncomfortable. It is going to feel unfamiliar because it is unfamiliar. There may even be moments where it feels a little emotional. Like I just said, I was getting emotional just saying those things to you. But that doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something meaningful is happening. Because the truth is, the same love that once held tightly is now learning how to release with trust. And that, my friend, is growth. That is maturity. That is what it looks like to love well in a new season. And I do keep coming back to this truth. God loves my child. God loves your child more than you do. He is already at work in their lives. And He's not asking you to control the outcome of anything. He is inviting you to trust Him with it. So I want to say that if this is a season you're in, you're not alone. I'm right there with you, sister. And if you're trying to figure out how to let go without losing yourself, I want to invite you to take one simple next step. I created a free guide that walks you through my Thrive framework to help you navigate this season with clarity, emotional strength, and faith. And you can download it in the description below. But I also want to offer you something else. If you're finding that this season feels heavier than you expected, you do not have to walk through it alone. I offer a free Thrive breakthrough call where we can talk through what you're navigating and help you move forward with confidence. I am truly honored to walk this journey with you. And I'm so blessed to have you walking it with me. It's so much better to not feel alone in this, because we don't have to just get through this season. We can learn how to thrive in it. I'll see you next time.